for me to work with the figures is consistent, but the one different thing is to work with the form that they're on, which is not, I don't usually work in that geometric form. Usually the figures are standing on their own or doing something on their own. So that was the first idea, so then that gave me the possibility to have the figures fly and leave the earth. And then I typically don't work in color. We have usually worked in a more white glass, and sometimes I would put some paint on the glass for some definition. But these asked for color, and the color I think really helps with the story. And so those are two very different ways for us to work. Working with the color also helps express a talent of Steve's, my husband's, because he's very good with color and has a history of color. But once we transferred to making the castings, the clear, the white glass just seemed to be the right thing until now. So it all feels very exciting and new for us. Well, we work very well together. We didn't start that way. We started with our own work, separate work, and then actually Serge is responsible for our first collaboration. He asked us to make a collaborative piece for the Verriales a long time ago. And our experience was really good. So we decided to keep exploring that. And we found that it expands our possibilities, because we have, in many ways we're very different, and then in many ways we're very much the same. We have the same taste. We can bring our vision together, but then some of our skills are different. And at the time that we started collaborating, Steve had transferred from making glass to using other materials, wood and metal. So it gave us an opportunity to combine the materials. And he particularly has a very good eye for balancing those different materials. And he has a more geometric form point of view. And then I have a more organic point of view with the figure. And so bringing those two different ideas together, we found was very rich. So when it comes to the artwork and the pieces, we are in agreement almost all the time. And when we are in disagreement, then we move on. We don't fight for the piece. We have to agree. And then once we agree on it, then we get to work on what we need to do. And I always only do the glass. I don't work in the other materials. Steve changes, and he is more fluid and is working with what do we need, what else do we need. And it's been very good for us. It's been really rich. It really has. The reason for that is, the first reason is I like that softer finish. I like, as opposed to shining. And then part of the reason for that is that if the glass were shining and transparent, then all of the work that I do to sculpt all the detail of the figure would disappear. So making the surface appear helps to define the detail. And for me, all the work is in creating that detail and gesture. And so I need to capture it. And sometimes, that's sometimes why I will use paint or a different kind of glass so that I can capture shadows, so that shadows can describe the detail. I'm finding that the color helps to capture and create shadows to describe the detail. And so otherwise it just becomes kind of a blob. You know, it becomes just a form in space, and it doesn't make sense for me to do the part that I really enjoy, which is to try to create the beautiful detail. And so that's, you know, it's just kind of a progression of decisions, but it always comes down to that's the best, I feel that's the best surface to carry on the meaning of the piece. I think I'm investigating several things. I have just an interest in how the body works. When I'm sculpting, I'm thinking actually a lot about the skeleton and trying to imagine from the inside out to the skin. And then I'm thinking about the muscles, and I'm thinking about what muscle does this, and then what muscle stretches to allow movement. And then trying to get movement. I don't want the figures to be hard and static. So I'm thinking about fluidity and trying to get that body motion in a hard material and trying to get that feeling of movement. So I'm just fascinated with movement. I'm fascinated with the body. I'm fascinated with the head and the face. And my challenge, particularly in larger heads, is to see if I can capture emotion and not just make a blank face. And that's, again, a real challenge with a hard material. And so it just keeps me very interested. Sometimes I get most interested in the making, and then I have to remember I have to finish it into the glass. Not really. One thing that Steve and I have always agreed on in making our work is that we hope people will be able to be inspired to put their story into the work, rather than us trying to tell our story in the work. And if our work requires our explanation, then we think that that's difficult, because we can't be standing with the work all the time to explain it to you. So it's also very interesting to us when we can hear people apply their story to a piece. So we're trying to inspire their own stories, have them bring it into the piece, and in that way we are making a connection. And so we want to always keep that in mind, that if it's too complicated and too mysterious, then I think we will suffer and we won't make that connection that we're trying to. And so that's, we try not to tell people what to think about the work, is our challenge.